The problem is, if this is the only thing you think about when you pray is God's limitless authority and power and righteousness and all of his resources, then some people come to the conclusion, well, why pray at all? Because if God's going to do whatever God wants to do, and he's got control of all of this, you know what? I'm just going to trust God and kind of deal with the results, whatever. And so we detach from God. We forget that prayer is about who you know more than what you get. And so what we also need to be mindful of is not just who we're talking to, but who we are to him. We need to remember who we are to our Father in heaven. And here Jesus is saying, you have a Father in heaven. If you sinful people know how to give good gifts to each other or to your children, your Father in heaven knows how to give good gifts to you. The problem for us is too often we think prayer sometimes is like this. You know what this is? Yeah. Not going nuclear, okay? I know that's a different story. But this is like a blast from the past for some of you. Some of you have never seen a rotary dial phone, so welcome to the History Channel, okay? When I was a kid, I was allowed to watch a certain series of Batman episodes. Do you remember those? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands if you remember them. We're going to call them classic, not old. It's a fragile season of life for me as I'm realizing I'm not the young one anymore. Okay, so this red phone was not used for everyday use, right? It was only to be used in the case of an emergency. And I think this is how some people view prayer. It's like, yeah, okay, God's in control and he's got it all, and I'm only going to pray when things are really bad. And even when things are really bad, we're wondering, is that an emergency to God or is that an emergency to us? It's like, okay, yeah. Oh, God, I know you're really busy. I know you probably got a lot. I mean, this is probably not if you don't mind, I'm just waiting. This is kind of big. It's been just, you know what I mean? We have that kind of posture with God. We have forgotten who we are to him. We think our requests are a nuisance. I mean, in some ways, for those of you that are parents, when your kid asks you for the same thing over and over and over and over again, I don't know about you, but there are seasons, there are moments, sometimes more often than I'd like to admit, where I'm annoyed at their requests. What's that really about? The kid or the parent? Oftentimes it's about the parent. And so what we do is we project that upon God. And when we're excited about a job out of college, when we're looking for a spouse, when we're asking for the same thing, we go, I don't know. That may not be an emergency. When we're waking up facing another challenging day at work or another day at school or another challenge, that's not an emergency. And so we make prayer a red phone and we forget. Jesus is trying to teach us, ask, seek, knock. Prayer's about who you know more than what you're getting. And so instead of looking at it as a red phone, realize that you and I are invited to be a part of God's family. It says it this way in Romans chapter 7, verse 15, you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. We don't have to be afraid, wondering, should I pick up the phone or not? No, instead, you received God's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children, and now we call him Abba Father. That term Abba is an affectionate kind of, it symbolizes close friendship, like daddy, like I know him and he knows me, he cares about me. For his Spirit joins with our spirit to affirm that we are God's children.